This shows Bitcoin search interest or search results over time going all the way back to 2020. Right now, there are very, very, very little people searching for Bitcoin. In fact, the same level as 2020 when Bitcoin went down to $3,000, $3,800 to be exact, right? What does that mean? Is this bad? Does that mean retail investors have left and no one really cares about Bitcoin? Well, I would argue the opposite. Look at how scary 2020 was with the shutdowns, with the quarantine, with, everything else that was happening, right? And Bitcoin plunged below 4,000. And then what happened shortly afterwards? Well, things started recovering. It wasn't as fearful anymore. And Bitcoin went on such a tremendous run that everyone just forgot about what happened in March of 2020 or what happened before that, right? We're kind of at that moment right now. I feel like that's where we are, except Bitcoin, of course, is not below 4,000. We could say Bitcoin is below 30,000. In the future, when I do the same thing and go back and say, well, remember 3 years ago? Remember what happened in 2023? I'm going to say, remember when Bitcoin was below 30,000 and people were fearful? It'll be the same story. It'll be the same thing, right? Right now, a whole lot of people out there, they're not paying attention to Bitcoin. That's okay because this is not FOMO time. This is not parabolic rise time, right? This is the time to bunker down and stay steady, lads, and continue to hold on DCA. This is the time for that because we're preparing for that next run, the next parabolic run, right? Now, as for people that are already in the space, we're already doing that, obviously. I've been showing you guys the long-term holders, the addresses. Look at this. Addresses with more than one Bitcoin, just one example, keeps on going up. So it's not like no one's in the space. There's plenty of people in the space. It's just kind of boring right now. But yeah, most of us are doing exactly that, just bunkering down and accumulating. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do know when things get better, they will get better in a big, big way. And we're starting to see signs that whales and institutions are getting ready. Look at this. USDT whale activity heating up as exchange deposits rapidly accelerate. Why is that? Why do we have rapid deposit of stable coins into exchanges? It's because the whales, they're getting ready to buy. They're not depositing USDT because they're ready to sell. They're depositing USDT because they're getting ready to buy. And this is measuring wallets within 1 to 10 million. So obviously the larger whales, but not institutions. When institutions get in, we're talking about hundreds of millions to billions at a time. This is just the whales, right? So there are definitely a lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines, getting ready. I mean, even without a statistic or like a chart like this, you just look at Tether. Tether's at 84 billion. You could just argue that right there. That's 84 billion of USDT sitting on the side waiting to enter the market, right? And same thing, 25 billion of USDC. That's over 100 billion in stable coins that could be entering into the market. It hasn't yet. It's sitting there as a stable coin, but it's sitting there ready to be used. I know tremendous things are coming. Right now it's boring. Right now you could argue it's not just boring. It's a little scary. Things are getting a little red, right? And I just got done talking about maybe recession, maybe depression, maybe commercial real estate goes belly up. Maybe the bond market goes belly up because bond market looks just as bad, if not worse. And what is Powell going to do if everything spirals downwards, yet inflation is still on the rise? These are questions not for me to answer, for him to answer and for our government to answer. But what I know is Bitcoin is the solution. Bitcoin to me is a solution to all of this. We can only control ourselves. We can't control what our Congress people and our president and our Fed Chair Powell We can't control what they do, but we can control what we do. And how do you opt out of all the shenanigans and all the troubles that we see? You buy Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin bull run to reignite if Bitcoin secures this price level. What price level is this person talking about? They have something called warm supply, and it is right at 28,233. I mean, we were right there. It's not like that's a big deal, but what's interesting about this is if you could look at, the red and the green, right? Right now, we're still in the red. To me, that just shows its accumulation stage. The red parts are when you accumulate. Green parts, obviously, is when Bitcoin goes back up and you could take some profit if you wanted to. Doesn't mean you have to. But right now, it is definitely still during accumulation stage. Here's something. Again, we see a lot of fractal pattern. Right now, this is mimicking what happened from 2017 all the way down to 2020. Remember, I just got done talking about 2020, right? That horrific COVID crash that scared everyone out of the market, really, right? But what happened when things were looking so dire and people were calling for the death of Bitcoin? What happens? Bitcoin goes from 3,800 all the way to 69,000. That's what happened. So imagine that. Imagine if you're one of those people that got scared out, you couldn't handle it, there was so much FUD, and you were listening to others that were telling you Bitcoin was going to go to 1,000 or go to 0, right? Imagine if you were one of those people, you would have missed out on one of the most tremendous runs in Bitcoin's history, from 3,800 bottom to all the way to 69,000. And if it wasn't for SBF and FTX, if we didn't have that fall from 64,000 down to 28,000 and back up to 69,000, imagine what would have happened. Maybe we would have just shot up to 100,000 if we didn't have that nasty drop, right? Which I would argue was done by SBF and FTX. It came out yesterday that Caroline was ordered to sell off Bitcoin to try to get it down to $20,000, right? Imagine if that didn't happen, we would have had a much higher high in 2021. We had a premature bust in 2021, right? But my point is this, again, when it's fearful, when it looks scary and you just don't know if you can hold out, normally that's the capitulation stage and better days are coming. And I'm not even saying we're like that right now. For some, it may feel like that. But again, are we back down to 4,000? Are we back down to 3,800? No, we certainly are not, right? So, long term, this is what I always say, when in doubt, zoom out. That's it. For every cycles, there's basically four points to look at, right? And basically we're heading into the third point, which should be, according to this, it'll be pretty high, around 48,000, which is an important Fibonacci level. And then afterwards, 150, 200, 250, don't know, right? Don't know. But what I do know is FOMO this time around is going to be unlike anything we have ever seen before from any previous cycles. That I can assure you.